Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, my name is Dr. Ian Phillips, and today we have some breaking news with respects to the whole Lindsey Graham situation. If you guys remember Lindsey Graham, he was the politician who said to his American constituents, quote, "I am not with you, I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel until my dying day." Right, end quote. If you guys remember that politician there, that American politician there, that guy who just died at age 71 to an aorta rupture from arteriosclerosis is what it's sounding like. This guy here had obviously a vacant seat for the Senate. And so what happens to it? Well, in any normal country, you would say, well, maybe that seat just remains vacant until we can host a democratic election to fill that seat because, we believe in democracy because, we are not these authoritarian regimes that everybody likes to harp on about, right? When we really get down to the bottom of it here, it tends to be that people believe not just in democracy, they believe in democracy for me, not for thee. And now we're in that situation here again. And so the Democrats have done it before with Kamala Harris, who got exactly, if you remember, 0 votes in the primary, 0 votes, and she became the vice president or the presidential nominee. Now they're doing this here with Lindsey Graham's sister here. And so let's tell you a little bit about it here, get some backstory. Well, the United States Senator, he dies, right? Lindsey Graham, he's dead. And so what happens? Well, the South Carolina governor, Henry McMaster, appoints Lindsey Graham's sister, Darline Graham, on July 13th, and she was sworn into the Senate on July 14th, 3 days after her brother's death. She becomes South Carolina's first female U.S. senator and will serve only through January 3rd, 2027, when the winner of the November election takes office. The appointment is lawful. South Carolina Code authorizes the governor to fill a Senate vacancy temporarily until an elected successor takes office. A special Republican primary is scheduled for August 11th with an August 25th runoff, if necessary, followed by the November 3rd general election. Now, Darline Graham has never held public office, but it says here that she's not devoid of public service experience. She has worked for South Carolina agencies for nearly 30 years, has served since 2019 as a commissioner of the State Commission for the Blind, holds a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, and serves on workforce and disability services boards. So the critique is not necessarily whether or not is she legally allowed to take office now, because they just appointed her without an election. She got exactly 0 votes, and she's a sitting U.S. senator now. That's not the question of whether or not that's legal, because in this messed up country, as backwards as it is, this is somehow legal. The question is, not to do with that. It's, is she a qualified individual with respects to, what we should deem as something that is philosophically sacred, and that is democracy? And the answer is no. Now you could make the argument, well, the governor was elected and therefore, this person, is now appointed through the governor because they made that decision per the law, which is legal. And you could say, well, it's democratic in that respect. But to me, I don't believe that that's the case, because the governor could pick anybody. And then to me, that's not really democratic. You could pick the worst human being you've ever seen in your life, and that would still count legally. But that's not democratic. That's not what the people chose. I'm here for democracy. I think that we should have a direct democracy with respects to our representatives, if we are going to have representatives. I think that we should have representatives, but I would like to move away from them playing as pivotal of a role as they do. I like to see a situation whereby we are voting more directly on issues as Americans, and try to get some more America First agenda, as opposed to the politicians and corporations and the whole military industrial complex first agenda that we currently have going on in the United States. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's a shameful practice that we have going on right now. But we can see the whole clip here. I don't have to take my word for it. We can see the whole clip here where Lindsey Graham's sister is, again, taking her brother's place in the Senate. Not a single vote, by the way. So let's watch this little video here.
Today, under the law, it's my duty and honor to name someone to serve in the place of this irresistible man, this irreplaceable man, this extraordinary man for the remainder of his term. Lindsey took care of his little sister in years long departed. It's my honor to ask his little sister, Darline Graham, to finish his work for him now.
So, you guys can see it right there. It's like, oh, heartfelt. The guy who said, I'm not with you, Americans. I'm with Israel. I'm with Israel until my dying day, right? This is the guy his sister who's going to now be taking office here in the Senate. So I don't know. Like, to me, it seems rather like a monarchy in some regards, right? Like, this is a public office, right? This is not something you just pass down, right? And like, the only reason they get chosen is because they're relative to Lindsey Graham. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I think I'd like to see somebody who's more like the intellectual side of things, right? Somebody who's at least, fucking like someone who has half a conscience, maybe half a brain. I don't know. Man, I'm sure she has half a brain, but does she have a conscience? I don't know. Doesn't sound like it if she's going to be trying to honor everything to do with, Lindsey Graham here. It doesn't really sound like she has that much of a conscience when she's getting endorsed by Donald Trump here. Again, the felon, right? The war criminal, the guy who is trying to literally dismantle the ICC, the International Criminal Court, right now. You can watch my last video on that. It's insane. This is actually insane. And so, what do we have? A monarchy or do we have a democracy? I don't know. And, there's an argument to be made here. The United States isn't even a democracy. We are a democratic republic, which is different than a democracy. And you could say, in addition to that, it functions as an oligarchy. It doesn't even function as a democratic republic. It's like, oh, man, what are we doing? We've so lost the plot, dude. We've so lost the plot. And what's funny, though, is you could say, well, is this what the founders wanted? And the answer is the founders, like the direct quote from James Madison is always, the whole purpose of government is to protect the minority of the opulent against the majority. And I think that's what we're seeing here. It's like, got to get your new puppet in line because the last one just kicked the can. So I don't know. Ain't looking good. Who knows? I mean, maybe they'll be better than Lindsey Graham. Hopefully, knock on wood. I think that's what we all want here. But, it doesn't matter. I mean, this could be Bernie Sanders' sister, for God's sake. I don't care, right? You need to have an election. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders' sister. Look, it's like, I didn't care, and you can watch the videos on this. Maybe a lot of Democrats say after the fact, but I remember when I was all alone on this argument here on the left, and I was saying, look, I do not support Kamala Harris because she didn't get a single fucking vote. I don't care. Like, I don't care that she was better than Biden. She didn't get a single vote. She does not deserve to be the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, right? And so, look, I can say that, right? And, I never liked Kamala either way. She's a horrible human being. But, regardless of that fact, right, you got to stay true to your beliefs. Doesn't matter if it's your own agenda or if it's somebody else's agenda. You got to stay true to those philosophical core principles, right, which guide us as Americans. And so, with that said, I don't know. I think it's a probably an archaic practice that should be dead, but for some reason, it's around and it is legal. And at least when there is a new election, hopefully she'll be kicked off out of power there. Who knows? Maybe she'll find a way to run, get on the ballot herself and, take the reins for her family legacy there. But who knows? I don't know. Anyways, guys, my name is Dr. Ian Phillips. If you did enjoy the video here, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for some more content. Try to get us to 500 subscribers. We're 3 subscribers away. You can follow me at Ian Phillips USA. I can't remember if I already said that. And with that said, guys, we'll talk to you later. Peace.